Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Into the Shadewoods, which this is definitely called, and I didn't remember or forget the correct name. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Yes, great.
Happy New Year.
Yes. Happy New Year. It is a new year, same hellscape that the players will find themselves in. No doubt they will have a great time while walking ever closer to death. Or while running. Some of them will be running. There is often running. But it's been a few weeks, so delegated the recap to Maddie because of dice rolls.
So, last time in Into the Shaywoods, our troop, minus Lucy, went to fight the cultists. And in that fight process, Corvus decided to root through Lucy's corpse for this supposed flower.
Root through is a great choice.
That was a specific choice of words. Thank you very much. I sat on that for a minute. To try to take a quote unquote flower from Lucy's corpse, but spoiler alert, it was actually just her literal physical heart. So that's fun. After the fight was over, we discovered that there were more than 4 people originally here, that they went north into the west. We decided to return to Oakshire to rest up, recover, and then meet with Emerald to discuss our group's path forward because of this discovery of these cultists, in addition to the disappearance we'd already been talking about with her for our group to go investigate. So we have decided to go north to both follow the cultist trail and also to investigate Rowan's Cradle, and maybe even go further north to another village where the Sap Massacre occurred some years ago. In this meeting time, we also met Frankie, Kristen's new character, and we discovered that they were a very close friend of Lucy's and want to join our party to get or avenge their death, among other things. So we decide to wrap everything up in Oakshire, and we get ready to set off on our quest.
So I think we're going to pick up exactly where we left, which is that Morvathra, you have been looking around and you look at Corvus and you see just so much wrong in that moment where Corvus is like almost slewing away from themselves, and then you blink and your eyes like they feel like they've been watering a little bit, and as you blink that water away, Corvus seems to be back to normal.
Is it like a witch thing for you to melt?
Only in certain stories. You're not planning anything, are you?
No, it was like, like I've always. So, have you ever cleaned like an animal before? And like sometimes you hit like a gas pocket and it's real bad, and you can be like, "Oh, I'm about to like my face is about to melt off" or something, but like you don't actually mean that seriously. Like that felt like that actually happened to you for a second. But then like I blinked and my eyes also watered. I think that's maybe what made me think of the gas pocket thing. Are you good?
I think Corvus is going to kind of like step forward, and he kind of tilts his head just a little too far to the right as he's like kind of studying you. Can I make a medicine check on Morvathra?
On Morvathra? Sure, yeah.
Yeah, because like,
Of course, yeah.
I'm perfectly well. Hold still a moment, would you?
While this is
Kind of like
happening,
studying.
can I make a medicine check on Corvus to see if his face is firm?
Without touching his face?
Yes.
Then yes. I mean, you could either way. It's harder without touching his face. I mean, both of you seem to be in reasonably good health as you look at each other from like really close proximity. Movathra, I'll say with a 15, you do smell like a kind of, sort of, almost like it reminds you of in the tribes when the blood's been collected from an animal, and it's like waiting to be put into like sausages and things like that. It's like old blood.
Well, you don't appear to be hallucinating, at least not actively. Am I melting?
No. Okay, so like you're real different than a lot of the people that I've met before. Is it like I know nothing about witches or elves. Is it like a witch or specifically an elf thing to go stale? Because you kind of smell stale, or maybe it's the clothes. Maybe I don't.
Corvus just kind of like sniffs his pits for a moment, like kind of airs out his garment and says, "Well, there's not really a good place to take a bath here in the town. There's the river, but we've been together for the past couple of days. I'll wash up."
Also,
He is gonna like reach into a pouch at like just like hidden somewhere in his robes. He's going to pull out like a like it's almost like a twist of leaves, like it's been like a wrapped into like a little almost like a pill shape, and he's going to tuck that into his mouth and chew it. And like the moment he does, like there's a very strong like anise sort of smell, but it's more on like the astringent part of the anise. And he's going to kind of look over at Marathra and say, perhaps that will help with any offense. It's not particularly an elf thing to smell. I will say that is not something that they're known for.
Okay, hold up. They don't smell at all. They're like a.
No, elves are very good.
I feel like if I turned into a badger and I smelled like Nescana, I feel like I'd probably smell something.
Yeah, it's. I'm not sure if you're hallucinating or if I've just got worse body odor than normal, but I do not feel that I am melting. I do appreciate your concern, and perhaps if it occurs again, you'll let me know and we'll take a look. But let's
It was just
pack our tents.
Yeah. Because like
Yeah.
I was like talking and walking, just like you know, like the tent next to mine, it was just like a big family of woodworkers, and like they never did anything, and they smelled so bad, and
Yeah.
like they didn't ever make me feel like I hallucinated someone's face melting, so that's kind of concerning. But you don't smell that bad, I don't think. I don't know. Ever since that fight when I turned into the big cat, which also that was kind of a little bit of a first for me. Uh, so that turned out well. I jumped one time and I kind of like smacked my nose on the ground real hard. So like it's been kind of messed up since then. Wait, where are we going?
Well, you still want to pay your respects to.
Oh yeah, I thought we were gonna go somewhere else before then.
Yeah, pack up our tents, collect my chicken.
Oh, I don't have a tent. I have a bag.
Right. We'll pack that up. Your
Oh.
I
Good to
have
go.
things back at the tent. Let's.
Oh, okay, we can go do that.
And I am staying in your company because that
More
fellow
left.
the other day. Yeah, yes, no.
I don't know. That still feels like it's like self and like an insult, but I don't really know how to word it in a better way, and it doesn't sound as catchy if I kind of reverse it.
Do you need a catchphrase? Is that
I don't think I need
that a
one,
thing?
but I want one.
Oh, okay. Let's workshop it. You've got other syllables to work with as well. Vathra, Vath. you said Maeve's daughter? Is that's your surname, right?
Yeah. It'd be kind of weird to like get my like catchphrase from like my mom though. I already got like half my name from her.
Corvus is like as quickly as he can, like shuffling us along, like moving forward, and like this conversation, like his replies take a little bit longer than like there'll be like several steps, several feet in between him finally saying something. Is my chicken still there?
Roll a d20. I'm not gonna do good die, bad die because I still, after 100 or something sessions of that other game, do not really understand how it works. Yeah, sure. It's got a
Yep.
chicken friend now.
Corvus looks at that chicken, looks at his original chicken, and just slowly blinks.
The wonders of magic.
How did this chicken? All right. He is going to pick up his chicken.
Well, your chicken in like a thing that was keeping it in one place?
It like he had kept it in his tent. Like he has
Yes.
like.
Then you notice that there's like a where your tent has kind of been lifted up by an insistent chicken, and another like that chicken has got into your tent to come say hello to your chicken.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
it's also, as soon as it sees you, it like begins to fly around and it can't find the hole out. Well, fly as
Yeah.
much as a chicken can.
Yeah, Corvus just kind of it's more of a lean-to than a tent. It's like it's fully tacked down, but it's not like an amazing tent. So he's just gonna like break that down quickly and like let the other chicken free, and then let his idolizing chicken that you said like he's gonna tuck that under an arm. All right, I have my things. He like checks. He says, "You've got your things with you, and now we have." Do you want to join with the others before we go back out to that? Frankie was her friend, so he might want to be present for whatever ceremony you have planned.
Yeah, we can do that. It's not very big or nothing. Wait, hold up. Are we going through the area? Or are we kind of going in a different direction? We're going past the same place, right?
I'm sure. I'm sure if you make your intentions known, the others, Bartleman, Frankie, will probably agree. And if not, something totemic, just in her honor. You don't have to be at the body. What's left of the body isn't.
I'm pretty confident you discussed it last time that you are going past there to pick up the trail.
No. All right, yeah, we can go find the others. Can you duplicate chickens? That could be a good place to end it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, we'll
I didn't choose
we'll
this
end it
time.
on, do you duplicate chickens? As I remember it, Bartleman and Frankie don't have anything to do other than be like in the place you're meeting. And Nisakana,
Yeah,
you
that's
have to
correct.
go and hand over control of the tournament to somebody else, which will happen off screen.
Yeah.
So you find yourself back together. Probably Nisakana is the last one to arrive, since you also have a like house that you need to leave in order.
Yep.
We'll say you're meeting outside the tavern, which is very, very quiet. Day after a feast, there's not a lot of people interested in like rising early and hanging out at the tavern, particularly when the feast is about to start again. But you see Nisakana coming from the east portion of of Oakshire.
Oh, very well. Does everyone have everything they need?
Oh, no. Quite.
Then let us be off.
You
Which when we pass by where Lucy was, I was going to do a quick thing. We're already going by there.
Sounds good.
all right. You make your way there pretty quickly. It's not a long distance. I think 5 minutes or so. At a hustle, so it probably takes you 7 or 8 when you're not dashing over there. Everybody make me perception checks as you hit that clearing once again. Um, okay. To the rest of you, it's pretty similar to how you left it. That smell of rot is like uh, heavy in the air still, even now, some 12 hours later. Uh, Corvus, you smell it not stronger, but yesterday you remember it emanating from the like uh, spears of wood that have had broken up through Lucy, like out her tiny gnome eyes, and like that wood had rotted. Now it's everywhere. Like as you step, you feel as if your feet in this clearing are causing like rot to emanate, as if there is like a thin kind of loamy layer that you're not seeing on this entire clearing.
Corvus kind of wriggles his nose, glances over at Morvathra, and says, speaking of smells that will melt your face off, could we make this quick? He is going to bring a piece of fabric up from his like cowl and just kind of loop it up past his face, and then like kind of chew his anise bowl harder to make it like so that that's what he's smelling.
Sure. You do that. What's your little thing that you're planning, Morvathra? The others, I assume, are picking up the trail, like because you know they went
Um,
north, but you'd like to ideally have physical tracks.
I'm kind of hanging around near whatever Corvus is doing because I'm not really a tracker.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd be going to do my trail searching again.
Okay. Okay, Morvathra.
Yeah. More would just get near where Lucy's body is, and we'll begin to stack like river stones that she would have collected into kind of just like a small little uh, tower before she reaches back into a pouch and pulls out the little satchel of ruby dust, and she lightly kind of sprinkles it over each layer of the rocks of the progressively kind of smaller river stones until they get to the very top, and then afterward she'll just kind of put her hands together over it where it almost looks like she's in a prayer, but she's not really muttering any words. And whenever she separates her hands, she makes it where your tips are the last things to separate. And in that space, there's a small spark that hits the ruby dust at the very top and then creates a kind of spiral of ruby red flame that goes down the riverstone. That doesn't emanate any heat or anything as she casts continual flame.
Okay. Is this more religious in its ceremony, or is it more nature based in its ceremony?
More nature, I would say.
All right, can you roll me nature then?
+1. Oh, 17.
I mean, +1, and you're a druid, so it's easier in general. You you see the continual flame. I see, it sounds like you're setting the continual flame on top of like the stones. Is that
Yep.
accurate? You see it land, and in that continual flame, um, it kind of shimmers, and the color of it shifts slightly. Kristen, can you roll me a uh, D100?
Concerning.
I thought that was 92 because I can't read. Give me 1 second. Um, duh, duh. Okay. I was reading Lucy's Wild Magic. You see as the flame kind of shimmers and moves, and it starts to almost look like the flame is waving backwards and forwards in a wind that doesn't exist. And as you look at it in that final moment, as you're about to step away, it looks like its hips are moving and dancing, and you start to hear a jingle of uh, like little metal pieces on a dancer's dress. And that sound continues to like echo, not through the whole clearing, so the people tracking can't hear it, but like for the 10 feet around here, uh, that dancer's jingle continues.
Um, Frankie allows himself like a beat there. Gives like a very slow wave in the direction of the dancing sounds, and then like turns his back on it and is going to move away.
Sure.
Uh,
Ms. Kana, what is your tracking system?
I'm just going to find the tracks I had looked at the previous day, make sure that there's no changes to them, and just start following the group that went north and not west, and see how many split that way.
Right. Are you activating Divine Sense, since that was how you first like picked up on the
Yes.
magical tracks yesterday? All right.
Yep.
Roll me either investigation or survival, whichever you prefer,
We'll
and
do
and
survival.
output Divine Sense for me.
Oh, it's almost a crit, but it's a 2, so it's 6.
Well, you can find the big tracks. Like you can find the tracks that are a bunch of people, but that magical essence that was strong here yesterday, uh, it feels almost. At first, you're like, "Well, it's very weak," but then you realize that actually, that's not the right feeling, and I need you to make me an Arcana check.
13.
Not bad.
Good for me.
The it's not it's not correct to say that the sense that you got yesterday is weaker. It's correct to say that this whole grove now is like making those little wispy images feel very weak because this whole grove is now desecrated.
Mhm.
And to the point that there's a moment where you consider if you were a different type of paladin, you might have like an oath obligation to fix this now.
Yeah.
But given that you aren't, you don't care. But this place is not safe to stay. Like already the amount of time that you've been here could have impacted any of your weaker companions.
Hmm.
That's a Nisakana vibe, the weaker part. I don't
Yeah.
consider Nisakana to be stronger than any of you. But having said that, could everybody please make me a Constitution saving throw? I was about to say don't get a natural one.
What I'm here for.
I don't know what everybody's dice look like yet, so I don't know who gets these natural ones any given time.
Yep.
Great. Everybody is fine except Corvus. But Corvus doesn't know that yet.
Wait.
Good.
Hmm.
Hmm?
No, it was I was going to say because I do think I bardic inspiration Corvus a bit ago, but and if we're doing nat ones or auto fifths, it doesn't matter.
Well, certainly you didn't. It was longer than 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Ah, you're right.
But yes, the nat one is significant.
Yeah.
Actually, Corvus, you do know that you don't feel very well because you have a level of exhaustion.
Cool.
And it emanates because you cough, and that smell of rot now comes from inside your throat.
Beautiful.
Because you also did very well on that perception check before. Nobody else has noticed this additional rot smell, and Corvus coughing kind of feels kind of normal.
Corvus kind of, as he's coughing, he clears his throat and he's, are we done here yet?
Yes,
I
we should be
don't.
off.
Yeah, I'm done.
You head north. The tracks, as I said, the cultist footprints are very easy to follow. What is your walking order? This is not a path, so you're walking like through the oppressive, like woods. As soon as you leave this grove, you're close. The trees are like blocking you in. You have to snake your way through trees. There's not even an animal path that they have followed. And yet their footprints do not look as harried by the woods as yours are as you wander it. So what is your marching order, and what does everybody do as they travel the woods?
I think Miss Kana would be first.
Makes sense.
Frankie is going to do his best to fall in behind Corvus, wherever
Corvus-
Corvus has placed himself in the order.
That's gonna
Let's
place.
turn this into
Yeah.
a real logic game.
Yeah. That's gonna mean
Corvus
that
wants
they're
to
both
be
like.
at the back, so you're just constantly like trying to.
Yeah. No, Corvus is just kind of like slowed, right? Like he's just kind of walking a little bit unsteadily as he moves. So yeah, he's like second to last, third to last. He's
Okay, it's Frankie at the back, Corvus, Mizukana at the front.
I guess Bartleman behind Misakana.
And then
And
Mora will
Wolvatra.
Mora will just be in the middle.
Yep. Okay, and what? As you travel the woods, this is not what you're going to do every time, but it's what you would do if you're on your own. What is your primary focus? Like, for those of you that have traveled a bit more, so Corvus, Bartleman, Molvathra, you've all traveled a bit more. Frankie and Sikana a little bit less lifetime. What in particular do you focus on as you're walking through the dangerous parts of the woods? We'll start at the front. So, Nisakana.
Seeing as that I'm in the front and I am trying to do the tracking, I am mostly focused on just keeping the trail, but also still listening for oncoming odd noises that could be attackers or whatnot. So mostly tracking, but still trying to keep an eye out ahead of us for potential ambushes and things.
Yep. Bartleman.
So if Nizaka is a little bit more downward focused, so be on the trail. Roman will be more like side to side. We'll just kind
So
of
you're doing the
looking around.
main like keeping watch forward.
Yeah.
All right, Morvathra.
More is keeping an eye out for like dangerous plants and other things that could pop up in the trail that are hard to kind of see. So like thorns or poisonous plants or stuff like that that others
Or
might not
like
notice.
yeah, like predator tracks and stuff.
Yeah.
I really wanted to make a joke that one of you has 3 red dots just appear on their chest, but not that kind of predator. Corvus, what do you
Corvus is
typically
similar.
do?
Corvus is similar to Morvathra, but his is more on like an escape plan focus. Like he keeps an eye out for like little game trails and places you would dart if you had to like leave the path for any reason, or other paths that kind of crop up that are like just slipped away. So he's more looking for gaps in the dangerous plants than he is looking for specific dangerous plants.
Sure. And I assume to some extent also you're looking for helpful plants.
Yeah, like that's just a background thing. Is always like, oh, is there something I would collect here? But because
Sure.
he feels kind of terrible right now, I think his focus is mostly on if I
The
needed to leave
survival
really
part.
quickly, how would I do so?
Great. And Frankie.
Frankie is keeping an eye. Rather, if anybody was to turn back and look at Frankie, he's it would almost look like he's not keeping an eye out on for or on anything. But he is keeping tabs on the group itself.
Okay. Interesting. I'm going to start at the back then. When you say you're keeping tabs on the group itself, do you mean you are watching to see if there's anything unusual in their behavior, or are you watching to see if anything has like snuck up on them? Are you checking them with insight, or are you trying to perceive something that has gotten past all of them?
The former.
Great. Roll insight. You don't know these people that well,
Sometimes
so you don't really have a baseline. What?
you're just trying so hard to look
Yeah.
cool that you
Uh,
forget to do your job.
Yeah, see, you don't know these people very well. And what you're doing in this moment is like establishing a baseline of what they are like, which is important. You see kind of through the group as they weave through the trees in front of you, you see Nisakana standing upright and tall and like the front of a spear as she moves through. But you also see her like note some tracks and miss some tracks. You see Bartleman walking this tight interwoven path like it's a main road that runs through the woods. Like the comfort with which you see Bartleman travel is only surpassed by Morvathra, who moves through the trees as if she was born in them. And you see Corvus, who kind of seems a little bit sickly, and that's what you think to be the case always. But you do notice that Bartleman is like looking both like around everywhere, trying to be as watchful as possible. You see that Moore will occasionally stop and like point out a berry that is like poisonous, probably as a badger runs by and is trying to nip at it. Like there is also a badger that's like intermittently waving around you. That you see every so well, Frankie, you don't see very often, but like those of you that are more perceptive do see quite frequently this badger like zipping in and out. It's also pretty big for a badger. Then Corvus, I'll get you to make me a perception check. Um,
15.
the problem with looking for exit strategies as you're moving is that they keep changing. But you
Yeah.
are very good at noticing these kind of things, and you've kind of picked up what kind of animals like move through here. And with your natural like affinity for the woods and your witchiness in general, and potentially other things helping you, you do kind of start to pick up a trail that moves like kind of cutting through where the tracks are going every so often, and it reminds you of like a woodland creature that is essentially, for ease, quite a large hedgehog, but they are bipedal, and they are nasty.
Yeah.
But they kind of forge paths with their bodies. They're maybe 2 feet tall and they're about the same width. But you can see where the trees have like been broken and scratched as they've like turned in their path. So you know that at any given time, you could find like you could turn onto one of those paths and have like a pretty clear open like sprint for a little bit. They tend to
Yeah.
go for like 200 feet and then they'll like cut back as that's their like as they're setting like their patrol for their pack. They don't really have a pack. They're more like I don't know if this is true of beavers, but they're what my brain tells me is true of beavers, where they like have a unit that they travel with. It's not like wolf pack.
Um,
Anyway,
is
yeah.
can I also in this moment, as I notice this, just kind of glance at the others and uh, basically not quite do exactly what Frankie did, but I do want a quick glance and see of like, oh, who should I tell this to so that we,
Um,
like know where to dart? Like
yes,
who's least
can you
occupied?
re-roll your perception check because you should have disadvantage because you have a level of exhaustion.
Yes. I don't know why it doesn't
And
do that automatically. I could have sworn I put it on there.
yeah, I would have thought it did. Great.
I am
Everything I
tagged.
just told you, ignore that.
Okay.
You are focused on the badger that is running backwards and forwards and making sure that that badger is safe.
Got it.
Man, I love those little hedgehog guys. Movatha, can you roll nature, but add your wisdom modifier instead of intelligence, and roll well enough that I can tell you about little like hedgehog men? I'm glad I said they were mean, so they're predators as well. It's for both. It's gonna be a natural one, so these things never exist in this world. It's a pity because when Kristen kills Frankie, Kristen was gonna play one of them. So other than the aforementioned poisonous berries that you note, you do see a zigzagging path that seems to be formed by this creature that you're aware of. That is exactly what I just told Corvus. But for you, you're considering not that it could be used as an escape thing, but that now you know that they are roaming in this area. But their roams are like very, very wide. So there's a very high chance that you will like not see them. But not zero.
Gotcha. I'll just kind of keep a mind about that, while also at the same time, similar to Scorpius, just like, oh, little badger.
Sure. Do you like look to Corvus or look to Bartleman about the badger as you see it?
Yeah. Probably
All right,
back to Corvus.
great. Make an insight check as you look back to Corvus. You like look back to Corvus, and as you mentioned the badger, Corvus kind of looks at you, looks at the badger, and kind of just seems to not have anything to say about it, because Corvus, you don't really hear it with your, let's say, definitely not mold-based bronchitis. But Mavatra, you kind of think that Corvus did hear it, but is like paying attention to other stuff at that moment. Because you're overall pretty quiet, because you can't walk next to each other, so you're like diving through stuff. Bartleman, could you make me a perception check? Or tell me your passive perception if you prefer to
Sure.
use that for your general wanderings.
I'll make the roll. It's more fun.
Sure. You don't see anything as you're like looking backwards and forwards. For like you travel on this road before anything happens that we'll resolve in a moment. For nearly an hour and a half. And you are like looking backwards and forwards. It's really dark as well. Like there's not a lot of light getting through. You do occasionally see like fireflies through the trees, so it's not easy to see anything. You get a couple of like little flitters of this badger that the other two have been seeing as well, and even Frankie has seen. But yeah, you don't notice anything. Certainly nothing threatening. You do at one point find quite a nice stick. So not a lost day. Well, not a lost section of time.
Pick up that stick.
It's good. It's a good stick. Sakana, can you roll me really whatever skill you'd like to roll to continue to keep the trail as it gets harder and harder to see, even with your not harder to see, but the trail gets harder to see.
Awful. 7. One better than last time.
There's a moment where you do think you're like you've lost it, because ultimately you're not following a road. You're like your tracking is all that's keeping the group like in this path. And you kind of look around and you don't see any boot prints at all. And you look back and you can't see the last boot prints that you saw. And as Bartleman, you probably notice, like there's a look of consternation on Nisakana's face. But Nisakana, as you swivel, you do see a like scrap of red that's caught on a tree nearby. And it kind of cuts a different way than you would have taken otherwise. And presumably you follow that as you start to see footprints again.
Yeah.
About 25 minutes later, you come across a small, it's not even a clearing, it's just a place where one tree once was and then isn't. So the canopy is still thick, but like it's one of those strange little places where a tree never grew. So there's like a 10-ish foot like space. And Nisakana, you see laying in front of you underneath a tree, kind of propped up, what appears to be a like prone human form. They're not wearing the red of the cultists. They're wearing like a if you had to guess, you'd say it was like some kind of woodcutter or hunter's like outfit. There's an axe, like a little hatchet, next to them on the ground, and a short bow, like propped up against a tree with a quiver next to it. But they have their eyes closed.
Do they look to be sleeping or dead?
Yeah.
Would you like to make a perception check or a medicine check?
Oh, they're both +2. I will do a medicine check for some variety. Why not?
I was going to say to do a medicine check, you do need to get closer.
Yeah,
otherwise
I would
it
get
be
closer. I can't see that far
Great.
anyway. So
So you do your medicine check I kind of think has to include touching them because so as do you want to check their pulse? Do you want to try and prod them awake? Like what's the medicine check?
Yeah, I'll kind of just stand or crouch down by them and first just kind of push against their arm or something to see if there's any movement from that, and then
As you push against their
yeah.
arm, the skin caves away, and you find your hand falling into what can only be described as a hive of some kind of insect. And I need you to make me a dexterity saving throw. So, right, if you'd rolled well on a perception check, you'd have seen their eyes moving. Well, movement behind their eyelids, it's a different thing. You like feel it, and you yank your hand back, and you will take half of this damage. Whoop, not a private GM roll, thanks. And you will avoid any venomous discharge from these insects.
Lovely.
Just didn't want to roll. I need to get dice, apparently.
Once more, a great soundtrack switch. Just
I need to turn the
love
bot
it.
back up. I had it way down.
So I have to find specific dice in here. You take 3 points of damage. It's poison damage if it's relevant. I never know what's relevant for paladins.
I just can't
Um,
be diseased, but that's not poison. I can still take poison damage.
Good to know. Ask me if you fail things if they're disease-based. Also, speaking of disease-based, could the 2 people that are close to Corvus please make me Constitution saving?
Beautiful.
Bartleman, you're fine.
I
Which
chose
is
the
good.
correct position.
You did. Yeah, you chose the one that dodged all of this bad stuff.
Is it con?
Yes, Constitution, please. Oh, you two are great.
Wow.
You don't even notice that Corvus isn't feeling good. Yeah, so Nisakana and Bartleman, you see now that the body does seem to have movement. There's movement behind the eyelids, but you can also tell from the caved-in skin of this upper arm that this body has been long dead and is essentially being used as bait for whatever these insects are to catch. Presumably not humans, but giving it a wide berth is probably a good idea.
All right, let us retreat and continue onwards the way we were going. Kind of shake my hand that got stung a bit and replace my gauntlet and kind of that was dumb.
I will also say that from your roll before, your Arcana roll, you know that anytime you feel Maddie or Isakana feels like they are losing the track, Divine Sense will get it back for you. But you do have a finite use of them each day, so
yeah.
I
think I would use one of those since this was obviously not the right path to go down, so I'll use another
sure.
duration of it.
You use another duration of another use of your Divine Sense, and you feel that same magical tug, sort of. And some people did come this way, certainly. You even see through this clearing a set of footprints did go. But you see that the bulk of them kind of from here cut north. So you could follow theoretically the 1 or 2 people that went through the clearing and continued turned east. But north is where the bulk of the forces went.
We'll continue north.
Great. You do so. After another, not particularly long, 15 to 20 minutes of walking, you find yourself hitting the road that that comes north out of Oakshire. It's quite small. There's not like a cut path near Oakshire, but it is actually traversable. You could get a wagon through here. There's places where you'd really have to like work it very tightly through some trees, but it is a tamped down path. It's a path that all of you probably use to come into Oakshire. And your divine sense indicated that people came here, and then they may have followed the road north. They may have looped back down to Oakshire. They may have continued into the trees, but you'll have to pick up that scent in whatever way you can.
Corvus is kind of lagging a little bit. Rubs at his chest.
Frankie is again, I think, falling back to sort of, I guess, not keep up, but keep down with Corvus, and he, as he is wont to do, loops his thumbs through his suspenders as we're walking, and mutters quietly to Corvus. So someone I met told me I needed to be mindful of you. It seems you need to be more mindful of yourself than anything else.
Corvus just kind of like turns and like at that just waits a moment and then raises a brow and
Just wondering.
I'm sorry. Did I miss your question? Just wondering.
I'm just trying to decide the best way to phrase this without offending you in any way. I'm just wondering.
If it's about the smell, Mora has
No,
already apprised me of
no,
something. I don't.
I'm just trying to figure out what you've done. So heinous, terrifying, some other negative adjective to make somebody who appears competent and strong afraid of you. Because as much as I appreciate your company, you do seem a bit scrawny and sickly. Said with affection, of course.
Of course. Sorry. Specifically, I started feeling this way back in the clearing. There was. Nobody else seemed to. You didn't smell that back in the clearing? I got a big lungful of rot, and that can't have been good for me.
Oh, the woods are full of the smell of rot. If that's going to impact your ability to travel, then perhaps you should have stayed home.
It's not that kind of rot.
Okay, so I'm continuing to learn more about the things that make your life more difficult. What have you done to make other people's lives more difficult?
Oh, that. So, kind of like pauses, glances over towards like Bartleman in specific, like thinking about like Bartleman's advice, and is going to a little more slowly than he might have if Bartleman hadn't said something. Your friends, what they did to your friend, there was something very odd about that. I think Bottleman doesn't agree, but I think I interrupted a ritual harvesting. There was a flower. Whenever they killed her, a flower emerged from her, and he kind of just gestures. It wasn't pleasant at all. Like the growth of it wasn't pleasant. But there's something about whatever spell that they used to kill her. And I believe that they were trying to, if not channel the power of her death, the pain of it, or something about her herself. Again, Bartleman doesn't seem to agree, but my opinion was that anything that does that to somebody, it ought to be interrupted. I interrupted it when I harvested the flower. He kind of like his nose turns a little bit, like he's got like a little bit of a wrinkled nose, not like he's not deeply horrified by this. It's like a look of slight discontent. I do apologize, but when I harvested the flower, it was her heart. And it was only after her heart after it was plucked. Rogic saw that. Did not believe me that I had not pulled a heart straight from the corpse of your friend, and believe he explained that to them.
Frankie has been nodding gravely throughout this explanation. And as Corvus finishes, leaves like a moment of silence. And then throws an arm around your shoulder.
I feel like I just have to make a dexterity saving throw in this moment. Because I think I'm going to have to try to dodge it.
No, if you're trying to dodge it, then it's an attack roll, because you're technically trying to grapple, so it is an attack against your AC.
Okay.
But Frankie will notice that you're trying to resist it. So if you do want to throw that arm around no matter what, just make an attack roll, Frankie.
Oh no, it's I think a motion of comfort that is coming naturally, and then he backs off if you shy away, and holds his hands up and goes,
Corvus is looking at your hand specifically for a dagger at this point.
I
like,
I must admit I'm not entirely pleased to hear about anything happening to the body of the corpse of my friend, but I have a sense that she was dead in such a way that didn't change anything.
like Corvus, his eyes go very wide. Well, certainly that was indeed. I checked first. There was nothing that I could have done for her.
Hang on, I have to work out if I need you to make me a roll based on what Frankie said.
Okay, yeah, because
Frankie said,
check.
I think she was dead and it didn't make a difference that you did that. And I think you know categorically that it did make a difference.
Oh, okay. Then in that case,
because she was definitely dead, but the flower being there was better than it not being there.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to work out if.
Oh well, If I know, if
let
like Corvus,
Corvus, I'll let Corvus answer it as the death thing
Yeah.
without a deception roll. But I was thinking about it, so we
well,
have to
I mean,
pause.
Corvus would say something different if he was thinking about that part of it.
No, I think Corvus answering it as like the death. She was dead, and she continues to be dead, is
Yeah.
in keeping with Corvus.
Yeah.
But it was close.
Yeah, Corvus just shakes his head and says, with any luck, it was easier the going than the seeing. It wasn't pleasant, but I have burned my bridges in Oakshire as it was, and that's sorry. He's still looking at your hands. You're not intending to try to slit my throat there, are you?
Frankie goes from like very serious and solemn to
Kristen,
Oh,
Kristen, hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna send you a message.
what? Hey, I know what Frankie's deal is. Can I
I'm sure about that.
respond to this question while I wait for this message, or is this going to adjust how I would be responding?
You can respond. I just didn't want it to go much further before that message came through.
Um, Frankie, there's I think a beat, and then he goes from again gravely serious and like nodding and listening to your story. There's a beat where there's like no expression on his face at all, and then he breaks into a large grin, and like lets a chuckle out into the sky. Um, until you give me reason to. Um, I have absolutely no intent of harming you. And when I say reason to, don't stick the little badger that's wandering around on me. I don't know if you could, if you wanted to, but
Corvus doesn't quite smile, but kind of like his expression relaxes a bit, and debatable. Probably, if you did, well, I should hope he'd do something about it. He kind of like casts his eyes over at the badger. And
As you
then,
cast your eyes over the badger, it runs over to you as if it wants food.
yeah, Corvus like rifles through his pockets, kind of like sighs, and then chooses like what's essentially like it's almost like a parsnip. It's like a root vegetable, that kind of thing that normally his badger is more than capable of finding on its own, and flips it over to the badger. Archie's, well, he's not likely to do you any harm unless you do me harm or you take his food. Really, it's more if you take his food that's the risk, I think.
well, I imagine there's not too much overlap between my diet and that of a badger's. So it sounds like if
You'd
I
be
don't do you harm,
surprised.
no, trust me. Trust me when I say this.
Corvus kind of squints
Said
at
with
you.
he uses that grave voice that he was using earlier when he says "trust me."
Corvus just
but breaks
quietly
out into
logs
a
to
grin
himself that
again.
you're some kind of a vampire. And right. Again, I am and he just shakes and says, I don't feel too well. He is going to like bring that like cloth back up over his face and wrap his mouth again so that he can kind of like smell at his own breath, kind of checking it once more. Since his stuff has kind of elapsed. Last chew.
Could you roll me a Constitution saving throw for your badger that you just fed?
Yep.
Do you have the stat block, or do I need to tell you what the bonus is?
I don't have it up. I forgot to save it.
I'm pretty sure it's +2 from the quick one that I found. Oh, that was the wrong thing. I forgot the descriptor. It is flat.
Okay. How a badger has a flat constitution has to be this craziest
because
thing I've.
you chose a non-badger stat block for chimeric creation as a trait.
Oh,
You chose the creature it's based on.
I don't remember.
You have a dexterous badger as opposed to a strong badger. Also,
Got
your
it.
chicken starts coughing.
Beautiful. I think if my chicken starts coughing, I am actually going to stop the party. I call out toward quietly towards the rest, kind of tap.
You stop the party as they have been waiting for you to catch up at the road. For you also have been like walking really slowly and stopped while Frankie was like, "I'm not actually going to stab you," and I was never going to stab you. But as we turn the camera from the party, we do like a real quick cut to Nisakana's eyes, which are like slightly widened, and then just to the road. Party as you like the three of you look back at Corvus, who's like trying to get you to stop when you've already been stopped for a few minutes.
I don't feel right. And also the chicken is coughing.
I did not even know you had a chicken with you. Why do you have a chicken with you?
Villager wanted to thank me, and he holds up the basket with the chicken in it and says, and this thing was going to get eaten, and it was apparently a pet, and look, the chicken is coughing, and that's not for something to pass from an elf to a bird. That's not normal. Plenty of illnesses when I was a child, and never did the fowl catch them. Nor did I catch the diseases from the fowl.
Do you wish to be cured of your illness?
Well,
I'll just tap you and use 5 points of lay on hands to cure the target, so Corvus, of one disease and neutralize one poison affecting it.
Sure, Corvus, you feel great. You still have one level of exhaustion, but you feel good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Corvus kind of rolls his shoulders out and says, I do feel better.
And also, you feel really patriotic for a second.
Yeah.
Like you really feel
Yeah.
a kinship to Nisakana and all elves in that 1 second.
And then
Corvus, in the second, Corvus,
feels terrible. Actually, you feel physically good, mentally awful.
Well, many thanks, Nisakana. And he's gonna look down at this chicken.
You gonna touch the body too?
No, it doesn't seem worth our efforts to spare a chicken, but a chicken is also If it passed from me to the chicken might pass it to us.
If we're not going to cure the chicken, then we probably need to put the. We can't just let a chicken roam out if it's going to spread like a plague or something.
Yeah. Just. All right.
Can you do that glowy hand? Well, like. Okay, so like, could you do the glowy hand thing, but just touch the chicken? Then we can keep the chicken, and then we
I
also
suppose.
the disease. Like,
So we can continue onwards, and I'll do the same thing to the stupid chicken.
You can.
Wait for the chicken to explode or something.
I'm just gonna tell you that, like, it feels like you're sullying yourself to do it, and I'll let you do it, and there's no cost. But you feel like you're sullying yourself.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm doing this so we can freaking move on, because clearly Corvus otherwise is not going to move on.
No party member has made a sacrifice bigger than you touching this chicken in this game so far.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that as a fact.
Are you saying this is a bigger sacrifice than Lucy dying?
It is equivalent in that, like, if Nisakana did this 3 times in this campaign, they would start losing, like, all their paladin abilities.
Okay.
But the chicken is cured.
Huzzah.
Corpse
make
does...
an animal handling check, actually, Nisakana, as you touch the chicken. It pecks you and you take 1 point of damage.
Trying to.
Corvus, like, clucks out of the side of his mouth at the chicken, in a, like, fairly scolding, but obviously not chicken communicating, not chicken language way, and looks at Nisakana, and with actually, like, more, like, inflection than when he thanked you for healing him, he says, "Thank you, Lady Ambala."
Maybe we continue on.
Can I roll an insight check on Nisakana to see just how she felt about the past 30 seconds?
Yes.
It
you
could
can
be a
roll
low
insight.
DC for that.
Yeah,
Well,
it's just
you're a knight. You're a knight.
important.
You're schooled in keeping
Yeah. Oh, it's true.
yourself. I'm just going to use your passive deception, which is not very high.
Okay.
I assume. Yeah. I mean, you can describe exactly how that felt, Maddie.
Yeah, curing Corvus was fine, because clearly there's something going on there that needed to be handled so that they would be good to continue traveling with the party. This chicken, though, was so annoying, but also I don't want to lose the trail, so I did it out of the obligation of getting Corvus to move and continue on with us, not out of a desire for the chicken to stay alive. And I will never do it again, because it pecked me and that was rude.
Frankie goes from walking next to Corvus to sort of shuffling his way up to Nisakana. Very, very politely. And he falls in beside her. Gives a smile. Really appreciate your sacrifices for the greater good, Lady Nessie. And then nods, and you have a bardic inspiration. Okay.
I'll take the bardic though.
If more hears Nisakana, we call it Lady Nessie. More will chuckle very audibly from wherever they are in the party.
You're like walking. You can now walk side by side. You're on a road. It's like very comfortable. You're all very close to each other now.
What's your bardic that I have? Again.
That is a D6.
Okay. Thank you.
We're about to go to break, but as we do, in front of you, Bartleman, you're like you're in the middle of an X now with Moore and Corvus behind you, and Frankie and Izakana in front of you. Really, where the wizard should be in a party. The exact middle. but all 5 of you see ahead of you a kind of rundown looking cart. Its wheels are made of white wood, while the rest of it's made of like traditionally like brown wood and very normal. It's being pulled by a single large axe beak, but it's like bread black, so it has no color on it whatsoever, and its beak is black. And like pulling the reins. I say reins. There are ropes attached to the axe beak that Bartleman, you've met this man before. He's never directed this axe beak. Like there are many times that this wagon runs off the road and has to be fixed because he doesn't actually know how to drive the wagon. It's just a traveling merchant that you happen to know who we will meet after the break, or not. You could try and hide from him. That's also possible. But we'll be back in 18 minutes. We'll come back at 10 past the hour.
All right. Don't go anywhere. Interesting. Okay.
Hello, and welcome to the second half of this week's session of Into the Shadewood, where Jack still hasn't learned to give the players 5 minutes less time every time because they're always late. Andrew, you said something, but you were muted on Discord.
I never left. I was muted both places.
Yeah, no, look. Some of the players are never the problem, and some of the players are named Charlie and Kristen. So I don't want to name any names other than the two that I did name. You see the axe-beak drawn wagon rumbling towards you. Its wooden wheels kind of, it looks rickety, but it's this wagon's never not looked rickety. And you all see as a quite tall figure stands up from the driver's seat of this wagon, looks out, and then you hear a voice say, "Oh, it's Master Thistle with some friends." And the wagon continues to roll forward. It's not moving slowly because is driven by a wild axe beak. But as it comes closer to you, the driver, like, you hear this loud clucking sound that quite emulates the way that you cluck your chicken Corvus. And the axe beak does seem to become distracted from running forward, and sort of slightly turns while still pulling the wagon as it stops, essentially blocking the road with this entire wagon. Which is like stacked full of supplies and things. This the figure kind of dismounts. He's got his hood up, and he's maybe 40 to 45 feet away from you as he walks over and feeds his axe beak. Everybody make me a perception check. Or a nature check if you just want to know what axe beak eat. Should probably open Foundry back up on my screen so I can see it. Everybody at once throwing dice. Well, Bartleman, you kind of probably knew this already, but
Yeah, I figured, but
he feeds this thing like whole woodland rodents that are like a foot long. Like every day he has to source a new rodent to feed this thing. It's an inefficient mode of travel. All of you know that because I'll just give it to Morvathra for free since your roll didn't happen yet.
I think it was 17.
That's fine. Yeah, all of you know that axe beaks tend to be carnivorous, and they tend to they're pretty hungry creatures. So you just kind of see him feeding this like whole like creature to the axe beak, and it takes it with like a ripping motion from his hands, and he like yanks his hands back, and then it drops it onto the road in front of him, and it starts like chopping it with its beak into digestible pieces. And he just turns away from that grisly butchering. And
well, hello there, Bednith.
yes, Bartleman. It's been years, surely years.
I haven't been out on the road in some time, so probably yes, years. You have anything for sale today?
I've got things for sale every single day. Are you in the market for supplies? Are you in the market for something a little bit more interesting? Also, introduce me to all of your friends. I'm sure they're eager to buy from such an esteemed merchant as myself.
Sure, of that I have no doubt. This here is Nisakana. Not sure. Or
Milady, and he like bows.
Pleasure.
Next to them is. I'm trying to remember the order. Morvathra.
We're in a cluster
right?
now.
Yeah. Well, next to them is Morvathra, Maeve's daughter.
So
He
That's-
smiles.
Corvus and Frankie.
He nods at each of you in turn. He kind of mirrors quite easily your responses. Like he's formal to Nisakana, and then he like is very laid back to Morvathra. He like pulls his hood back. He's it's impossible to tell how old he is compared to Corvus, but he is an older human. But where not Corvus, how old he is compared to Bartleman. But he's very like he has a beard that's very, very like manicured, and he has hair that's swept back, and it's got some kind of oil in it that like keeps it in a particular like way. And he looks very he looks more like an affluent merchant than perhaps anybody else that you've ever seen does. He says, "Well, come this way, come this way. Mind Cordelia, although she should be busy. She's not. She's already like kind of dragging the wagon a little bit, looking for other food."
Corvus has
And he,
quietly reached down and collected his badger.
Yep. He Bednith like reaches into the slightly moving wagon and pulls out like two long pieces of wood and just like chokes both of the wheels to stop it rolling away as the axe beak uh, makes it like kind of trilling sound of disappointment as it like is locked into place. Um, so, how's the road been treating you, Battleman? He's like pulling out these different sacks of things.
Oh, well, it's sort of hmm, rough times of late. I had a bit of trouble, but coming down from Oakshire, the festival was quite nice.
Yes, I've got an understanding with the merchants in Oakshire, and the understanding is that I'm not welcome in Oakshire. So
Hmm,
otherwise
I
I would have
see.
availed myself of the free food.
Yes, well, we're actually heading up north at the moment. Kind of, did you happen to pass by any folk on the road?
Um oh, yes, early this morning there was a group of odd fellas.
Hmm.
Not real friendly. They weren't interested in purchasing anything, that's for sure.
You happen to catch where they were heading?
He thinks about it for a bit and he says, well, they were going on the road. They didn't cut away as far as I saw, but no, they were wearing red.
All right. Well, thank you. We're trying to catch up to them, as it were. But be happy to look at what you have. I think we're full up on supplies, but if you have anything interesting, I'm always happy to take a look. I do have a few knickknacks I could trade, though some I'm perhaps hoping to do some things with.
You're interested in the less normal of my supplies, huh? And he like puts back a couple of sacks which just clearly have rations in them, and like there's one that's just filled with rope and things, and he like pulls down a little chest, and as he puts it on the ground, it like the legs sprout out from it for it to be like sitting about a foot and a half off the ground. And he opens it up and it like folds out, kind of like a makeup case, but like it folds outwards. And he
Mhm.
says, I'm currently carrying a few rings. They're um, magical, of course. I've got he like presses a button and like a couple of scrolls pop out. He like looks at them quickly and says, "I've got a pair of middling scrolls. You looking for anything in particular?"
Hmm.
Oh, I've got this, and he like pulls out a couple of very small vials of like a reddish liquid, which I think you, as a well-traveled individual, just know are healing potions.
Um, healing potions would
You
probably
also
be
know that
good.
he does not trade in gold.
Yeah,
Like
I'm like the only thing I
he has
have
no interest in gold.
is the Shadewood, unless I want to like, unless he has something good enough to swap the wand of magic missiles for, which is pretty. I'll ask about the rings.
Do you have any need of a chicken, sir?
Kind of looks at you and says, how well trains the chicken?"
Corvus looks at the axe beak and says, well, it's better than that, maybe. And he will show you the chicken.
So he'll appraise the chicken. That's not a good color for him. Better. He looks it over, like he reaches his hand out. He makes a clucking sound similar to the one that he made to the axe beak, and the chicken like kind of cranes its head towards him, and he like grabs it by the beak, where its beak like meets its face, and like opens its mouth to kind of look and see inside, and says, "Does it lay? Is it give eggs?"
It does lay, because that was one of the things that Corvus had been curious about whenever, or the gnome had said that they have more eggs than they need, right?
Yes.
Corvus says it lays. Friendly enough, gets along with other chickens, doesn't seem to peck the others. So if you have any others,
Oh yes, I've got a whole menagerie of chickens in my uncovered wagon. Sure, I'd take a chicken. Well, depending on what you want to trade it for.
Corvus looks to Bartleman and says, "I don't know that I need anything in particular, but if there's something you're looking for, the good of the group."
Oh, you asked about the rings?
Just browsing.
Roll me a D100.
37.
A few of them are very like benign rings. Like one is a ring of like sanctified ceremony, where once a day you can like cast specifically the ceremony that is the wedding. There's like a ring of the chef, where you get like a +1 on cook's tools, that kind of thing. Then he says, I do have a couple of more adventurous ring types. This one, he says, is particular rare piece, and he holds it up, and as you kind of look at it, where you thought it was gold, as he holds it, it's like molten in his hand. Clearly not in any way hurting him. And he like squeezes it slightly. It says this one's a ring of well, I always told it was a ring of fire protection, but I'm not convinced that's how it works. I think it's a ring of fire absorption. You can make an Arcana check if you like. He's not exactly sure what it does, and you are probably better with Arcana than he is.
A billion. 27.
Every time you take fire damage, this blocks like it absorbs to your health the first 3 points of any fire damage that you take.
It's pretty good. Very situational. But pretty good.
Bartleman says out loud. Very situational.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Very situational. Interesting. What was the one before that again?
He has like a +1 cook's tools ring.
Okay, yeah.
He has some other like implements as well, but not good implements that you have. Like,
Yeah.
+1. He's got a +1 easel of the artist. It's not a ring. It's just in the back of. It's not even covered in the back of his thing. Nobody who's bought it for like over a year and a half. He might have had it last time you saw him. He kind of looks at Frankie. Frankie, you carry a instrument of some kind, right?
I do, yes.
He says, "Oh, I've got this actually," and he fishes around in his wagon, and he pulls out. Remind me what your instrument is before I say a thing that does not fit it.
I think it was it's a great question.
I thought it was
banjo last time. But that's just
I thought
me.
it was
it's not a banjo anymore. I think
Okay.
it's a violin.
Yeah, it's a stringed instrument though, right?
Yeah, well, certainly strings. Yes.
Yeah. He pulls out. At first, it looks like he's pulled out nothing, and then you think he's pulled out fishing line, but he pulls out like a bundle of strings that are like attached to his fingers, almost like cobwebs. And as he like flicks them, they flick down into a like perfect cascade of these strings. And he like flicks them slightly against like the wooden table, and then he plucks across them, and they play a sound.
That's a neat trick.
Or it's not. Well, it's a trick in that I know how the magic works, but it's they're magical strings. They can be strung to any string instrument, and they enhance the user's ability to captivate an audience, as it were.
Well, I don't need a trick to do that.
Well, I wouldn't sell them to somebody that was so perfect that they would have never failed to capture an audience in a moment. He like he kind of clicks his fingers together and they like ravel back up into this tangled net of cobwebby material.
Frankie gestures to Corvus and goes, "Now, I know he's been asking you about a chicken, but I think you should be aware that my friend here, one, in desperate need of something to improve his constitution, but two, is deeply fascinated by the wares of most magical trades persons, and you should go talk and is worth having a conversation with." Um,
Sure.
Corvus,
I'm
This-
trying to aggressively direct his attention to Corvus.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah.
He turns his head slightly to where Corvus is in the group that you're standing in. And says, "Oh, sorry, you literally said there was nothing that you wanted went to Bartleman like a moment ago, but
Corvus kind of.
can I show you something in particular?"
I suppose have you anything that you've picked up in the woods, herbs, flowers of interest,
No,
plants?
no, I don't know enough about herbs or plants to be picking them up in the woods. Sounds like a good way to die.
It would be it very much would be. Are those healing potions there?
Yes. He like goes to turns back to his wooden thing, picks up a healing potion.
Corvus kind of like
Oils.
never buys healing potions, but is just kind of glancing at it because he's in this like very awkward situation of he's been told he's very interested in something, and he's just like, this seems fair enough. Do you make them? Who makes those for you?
He gives you a look of like just complete disinterest in the like provenance of his healing potions. He says, "Well, along the road, somebody traded me the healing potion for something else. I believe one of these was traded for a quite nice, fine-handled bronze dagger. And now I have the two healing potions, and eventually I'll trade them, and then I'll have those things. I don't make anything. I'm just brave enough to wander the woods, and attentive enough to wander the woods."
Corvus, like nods. The rings Bartleman has already looked at, and so he just kind of shrugs a little bit and says, "Well, somebody else here is in need of something from you, and you are interested in the chicken as payment. I'm more than willing to part with it."
Well, if we can
I
get the
traded.
chicken for the ring, that would be.
Oh, the chicken for the ring of sanctified ceremony.
No,
Maybe, probably not.
I meant for the fire ring, but
Oh, I know
Sort
what
of-
you meant.
I sort of figured. Can't blame me
There
for
was
trying.
time in there, Frankie, that you could have tried to. He was like not looking at his stuff for periods of time if you wanted to try something in that time.
Yes. I would like to not necessarily grab any high value. I think this is like not even Frankie like has anything in particular that he wants. It's just an itch that he has, which is just to see if he can swipe something. Um,
Well,
So
you
whatever
can
is like easiest for
absolutely.
him to.
Do you want to take something from the like magical item display that he has, or do you want to take something just from his wagon?
What is the would I have to like then go into the wagon?
It's
No, it's
uncovered.
an uncovered wagon, and you're quite tall. You just lean over. You have to walk over there.
So then I think I would just while his head is turned from his table, just try to like without moving my own position too much. If his attention is like appropriately uh turned, we'll just grab the first thing and reach.
Sure. Make a dexterity saving throw.
Dexterity saving throw, not a sleight of hand.
No,
Yeah.
you could reach into it. There's no sleight of hand required to reach into the thing. Sleight of hand would happen if you
forgotten
took
about-
it and were trying to hide it.
We're talking.
But something happens before that.
You've forgotten about an
Mean.
NPC. You see.
Ah,
As you reach into the top of this thing, which you will all remember I described as its feet jutting out from underneath it to
Mhm.
hit the ground when he put it down.
Mhm.
It closes with sharp wooden teeth onto your hand, and you take 15 points of piercing damage. He says, he kind of looks over at you, doesn't really even admonish you at all, but reaches over and like touches the wooden container, the wooden like box, and the top of it unfolds back out to be showing his stuff, and he goes back to talking to Corvus.
Yeah.
That's
He's kind of.
that's
It's
not
just.
for sale. Importantly, that's not for sale. But is one of the reasons I'm not allowed in Oakshire. Apparently, if you sell someone a side table made of the living wood, people don't like it because it moves around at night, and people get scared of that. He shrugs.
Yes.
Look, your headman of that town shouldn't have bought a magical side table. Why would he want
Oh,
that?
he bought it. Mm.
He shakes his head. So, does anybody want to buy anything?
I have everything I need.
Would you trade one of those potions for either a chicken or a block of shadewood?
I certainly might have
What?
traded it for the chicken
Shadewood.
some 20 seconds ago. But yes, I'll trade them both for the block of shadewood. Because we're old friends, of course.
Very
And
well.
because I suspect your friend needs a healing potion for their hand.
Yes. I was planning on using this, but well, the potions may be in better need more quickly. I'll hand him the shadewood. Take
Yeah,
that.
he hands them to you. They're different, like they're small bottles, but they're both different bottles. They are clearly from two different places. He says, well, I can trade normal supplies for the chicken, if you like.
We're like full up on supplies, I think, right? Like we just left.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't recall anybody purchasing supplies, but I'll allow it in
Okay.
this case.
I mean, my assumption is that if I came
Like,
out
we brought-
to the
I thought
town,
I
didn't-
remember Nisakana specifically mentioning it.
Nisakana's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
People would have given Nisakana the stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Nisakana's never the problem. And probably is fine anyway.
I have all the
But
shit
no,
I
yeah,
need.
Well,
you have supplies for a while.
yeah.
You don't know how long
Yeah.
this trip will be.
I think I'm okay.
Sure. He kind of looks at the chicken and says, well, it'll probably serve you better for its egg laying capability than me. I'll just have to feed the eggs to the axe beak anyway. He like picks the box up, its legs retract. Its lid closes, puts it back in, climbs up onto the wagon. I would advise you, Master Thistle, to be careful on the road. The woods have been ornery of late.
Hmm.
He clucks as if to make his leave, moves the reins that are really not attached to the axe beak properly, and the axe beak doesn't move at all. He kind of looks, he looks slightly embarrassed, and says, "She'll take a moment.
Maybe
You'll
if
have to
we
walk around the
had
wagon if you want to
Yeah.
move."
Go sidestep.
As I
Uh,
step around the wagon, can I do an animal handling check on this axe beak specifically? Because I just wanted to like pet it for a second.
Sure. You want to sidle around the front of the wagon where the axe beak is and make an
Yes.
animal handling check. Great. Everybody else, I assume, is going around the other side of the wagon.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not going near
Okay.
that thing.
I'm going to
Yes,
give myself
make me.
guidance.
You're going to give yourself guidance.
Yes.
I'll allow it.
Does he touch a willing creature for guidance? So
Yeah, but again, I'm not allowing guidance on everything, but you never use it, so that's fine. Yeah, you can roll a animal handling check.
This feels important.
Well, that seemed high.
23.
All right, well, hold on. I've got to have a look at this stat block. Yeah, it lets you pet it. It lets you pet it in that kind of way that like it is aware of you, and there's a moment where like it flinches a little bit at your being so close to its face. But as you pat it, it just continues to be like nose down, kind of looking, scrabbling for something in the ground. But you can certainly pat it on your way past.
Yeah. Just make sure to like stay on one side of it where it's easy for at least one of its eyes to see more, and then more would pat it in a way that clearly wasn't going towards the ground where a potential food source is. And then after doing that for a second, we'll keep going.
Sure, you have successfully petted the axe beak.
Yes.
Uh, you head off, continuing northward. You do know now that the cultists started to use the road, so that is a significant boon over what you knew before.
Indeed.
But as you travel northward along the road, you don't know when they left the road again, and that it's largely straight road onwards to the village that's to the north of Oakshire. Uh, are you just going to follow the road till you get there? Are you going to?
when we look at a map, how what's like the time it would take for us to get up to
That's like a 3-day journey.
I think then for today we would just I'd maybe do one more use of divine sense and then just check to see if they still were on the road or if it did in fact veer off at some point. But otherwise I think we would just stay on the road for now.
Sure. How long does that last? It's just
Divine sense
the action, 1 round.
as an action, yeah, until the end of your next turn. Yeah, I think later on you can have it for there's a spell I can do for an hour.
All right, roll me a D1000 for your divine sense to be useful at an exact appropriate moment. That's very low. But you do use your divine sense, you don't really sense anything.
Okay. Make it as use.
Yeah, so you head onwards. Everybody make me perception checks for during the day to see if you notice anything of interest to your character.
Before we do that, Frankie is gonna whistle himself a little tune and cast Healing Word on himself to get some hit points back.
I see nothing.
I'm gonna use my bardic, so I add 6 to that.
Sure.
8, so that becomes a 14.
Bartleman,
and
you're
I
just like still stuck in the you're still stuck in the was it a good trade, that
Like,
shade
what's
wood
a
for these
shade
two
with
healing
face
potions.
potion?
You're not even gonna be the one that uses the
I was
healing
gonna
potions.
make a wand out of that. But no, it's like probably more useful. Like, I'm not gonna make the wand anytime soon.
it's 19.
19.
It's yeah.
And then Niskanen has a 14. Morbar throw 15. Frankie did not. Frankie 14. Okay. Bartleman, you're in your head about the what's actually happening is you're probably checking the road for dangers, and you therefore don't notice anything particularly interesting to you. Corvus, you are looking around and you do spot deeper into the forest. Even here where there's a road, the canopy is thick, so you're still like only really in dim light, but it occasionally sunshine will muddle through. But you see like maybe 20 feet off the road to the right as you're traveling, Corvus, a flower that you've seen before, but only in books, and you only recognize it because it's got a large, like, frond-like petal system, and then a large stamen that, like, looks, for lack of a better descriptor, like an anglerfish lantern, and it is glowing.
What do I remember about it from the book? Like, do I?
You don't remember exactly what it is, but you do know it is a hedge magic type flower.
Corvus will, I guess, just kind of catch Bartleman's attention. Be just a moment. That flower there, it's useful. And he will kind of, with that like habitual like escape glance around, checking to see what is around the flower before he heads in towards it.
Sure, make another perception check or survival check, whichever you prefer, as I find this book.
9. Actually, hold on. Let me roll that again just in case. 9.
You there it is. You walk in, and I need you to just roll me a d20 as you like head that 20 feet in. And to then tell me the result.
18.
Yeah, you walk in. The flower is it's like dotted by a bunch of little buds of the same flower that aren't bloomed yet, and therefore are largely inert. And you
Corvus reaches for his like usual silk handkerchief,
mhm.
tucks it back away, like, and is going to just like pull a bit from one of his like ridiculous amount of layers and use that instead to harvest it. Kind of like he does this thing where he like makes a basket out of it, like out of the cloth, when he reaches in to catch it using the little clippers.
I feel like I asked you this last time. Do you have the herbalist toolkit? Like
I
for
do.
proficiency?
Yes.
Okay, roll that then. This is with wisdom, I guess. Like it's
Okay.
not a speed thing.
Okay. So my wisdom is a +5. Yeah. So instead of the +3, it's +5, so it's a 17.
17. Great.
Mhm.
And then make me a nature check.
4.
Great. You have a magical flower.
Cool.
but no knowledge of what it is in the exact moment that you pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, that's not entirely uncommon for him to do, so he will tuck it away for later investigation.
Sure. Roll me a d20 as you head back to the road.
10.
Great. Bartleman, you watch as Corvus goes a moment into the woods and comes back. You see the light of the flower extinguish, and Corvus comes back, tucking it somewhere into his clothes with one of the many layers of fabric. Nisakana, I will do yours last. Malvathra, you notice later in the afternoon as the sun is presumably setting, you see like a cross between a squirrel and a monkey, in that it's got a curled tail, and it's one kind of jumping from tree to tree, but it's trying to get nuts and seeds off the tree, so an equivalent of an acorn. It's trying to climb up to grab it. But you've never seen one of these before. It's very small, 7 inches tall or something.
Would it be like an animal handling or an insight to see is this thing natural?
I'll just tell you that it's natural because of being a druid.
Okay. This is more of it's more other things that she can turn into this.
Yeah, you absolutely can turn into this.
I will note that for later. Ooh, actually, we're just randomly walking on the road, right? Kind of getting near.
Yes.
Probably at some point after seeing this thing, Mothra will turn into it.
Sure.
And is then going to hitch a ride on the back of a Corvus.
Corvus watches his small animal inventory just increase by 1, and just kind of shrugs, and he shrugs out his shoulders and adjusts his hood, kind of giving you a nice cozy little hammock to rest in with zero concern. It's hard to tell if he even noticed you turning into an animal. And
you do notice as you transform into this animal, wild shape, you take its physical attributes and leave your mental attributes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do notice. What's your intelligence?
for another jump.
8.
8. That's fine. You do notice that as you climb up, because you do it so quickly, it's because the what kind of looked like fingers for this creature are really sharp little talons, and it just cuts 4, 8, let's say 48 tiny holes in Corvus's layers as you scramble up his back, just ventilating the clothes that Corvus is wearing. But you are just in a hammock. Frankie, you are wondering. You're at the front with Nisakano, right? If I remember correctly.
Mhm.
That's where I was when we were interacting, or when we met up with what's his
I
face.
probably would have made you stay up with me since you tried to steal.
You
Yeah, that's true.
know.
Everybody did see that. Everybody knows. You literally got your hand nearly bitten off.
Just trying to
Steal.
appreciate the wares.
Oh, appreciate them.
No.
I'll roll a deception check about that.
Sure. You can roll a deception check with disadvantage against everybody's insight with advantage.
Wow, and I still rolled shit.
This is one of those ones that, like, it's outrageous that I let you roll.
Hello.
Why do you have disadvantage, Movathra?
Oh, oops.
My dog's chirping. I'll be right back.
Getting nothing by
All right,
me.
well, Bartleman knows.
All right, well, that would be a 24.
Okay, Bartleman and Movathra both knew that you tried to steal. Nizikana and Corvus don't know what you were trying to do, but, like, you didn't make a big deal about being injured, but he didn't make a big deal about you trying to steal from him. So
Mhm.
I will say
This
that
is
Nizikana, you're like, it's suspicious, but
I don't know. It's just a healthy. We look at each other as a thief and as a merchant who dresses well, and we know that this is just part of the ecosystem.
I would like to be on record as saying that's not what he felt.
Oh well.
I don't know that respect that you imagine existing both ways does exist both ways.
Well, then it exists neither way.
So you don't know. Anyway, you
But Frankie
deceptively were trying
believes
to
it
respect
exists
him.
one way.
Okay. But yeah, you're up the front. You can be wherever you like. Actually, I don't like. You don't have
Sure,
to.
I'll be in the front.
As you're walking, you're kind of like lost a little bit in thought. It's been a traumatic few days. Like, and as
Yeah.
you close your eyes for a moment, you keep walking, Nisagana, there's no noticeable change. But as you close your eyes, you feel a pressure on your chest, like the world is crushing down on you. Like there's no way for you to escape this pressure as it builds and builds and builds until you start to hear a beating heart. And as you hear that beating heart, without opening your eyes, you see Corvus. And then the pressure's gone.
Corvus?
Corvus kind of glances up, lifts his brows
What
at
do you
you.
carry with you? What made you ill?
Well, hold on. You don't know anything just happened, Maddie. That was
Oh.
specifically just
I thought you said my name and not Kristen's name.
No. Your
Carry on.
thing's going to be happening in a second.
Oh, okay.
How are you feeling right now? This is not said with the same jovial like tone that he has like addressed you previously.
Pardon? Corvus actually, like, rather than just, like, immediately reply with how he's feeling, like, the nature of the question makes him pause and kind of, like, take an inventory of himself. Unless you have something to add, I'll, do I need to do a
No.
roll or anything? Okay. Then, Corvus, like, takes an inventory,
Yeah, you're fine.
stock of himself, and says, still, you know, after you've recovered for something, still a bit like that. I'll enjoy tonight's rest, but I don't think I'm transmissible any longer. And certainly not melting. So, everything. Are you? Hi.
I think once again, Frankie continues to be just absolutely struck by how genuine Corvus is in being a little weirdo and like sighs and goes, Corvus, I like you, my friend. Were you in my head a few minutes ago? Seconds? Because unfortunately, if you were actually, that does, I think, push the boundary of what I was calling do me no harm and I do you no harm.
As far as I know, that's I'm a witch and an elf, and neither of those things. He looks toward Morvathra and he says, discussing
Roll-
earlier things that are
roll
normal for
Indeed
people.
Scroll Morgothra looks back at you from the hood hammock.
Yeah. Also, this
Corvus,
conversation is happening with Frankie at the top of an X and Corvus at the back of an X, so everybody can hear every word that is being said.
Corvus will wander up a little forward, and he's like reaches up and he kind of scratches idly at your chin, pokes a little bit, and says, why do you think that I in particular were in your head, and it's not
Also,
something I
hold on.
could do or would do.
You said the elves and witches don't do this kind of thing.
Well,
That was Corvus's stance.
as a standard thing. It's not just a thing that is
Sure.
it's not like an innate thing of.
Bartleman, you have known
Mhm.
both elves and witches that have done this, and Nisakana, you know that there are many elves that practice that kind of thing. And Frankie also, from stories, has heard of elves that do this kind of thing. But yes, it's not a standard equipment for an elf.
Yeah. But why do you think?
Now, mate, I appreciate the words that you're saying, and I appreciate that. I think you think you're doing your best here, and you're very friendly, if a little strange.
Corvus perks
I
up
just
and friendly.
I want to circle back to where I said strange, though. I did see you. Not there. But while I was walking forward with my eyes closed, and it's not painting a great picture of your strangeness.
I guess I'll just. I mean, one is something where it's a medicine check on more, but now this is a general arcana check, I guess.
Sure, you can make a general arcana check.
I guess it's centralized on himself, as the nexus. What does he know what?
Sure. Also, if anybody would like to roll insight check in any direction, feel free.
That 42, I swear. Hut.
Yeah, I think
Kristen,
I'm just so I can clarify, because I'm rolling insight. I want to insight, did Frankie have something happen and they're just accusing Corvus because Corvus is the closest person, or do they?
Corvus is firstly, Corvus is the furthest person away, but Kristen,
Okay.
you can answer that if you want.
Sure.
You got an 11?
Yeah, I didn't get roll that well.
I saw the 19. Hard to say. Kristen, hello. Would you like the disadvantage 20 that Charlie rolled to activate your magic item that is Lucy's Bond Stone? So, do you want a wild magic surge to happen?
Yeah.
Great. Charlie, roll a D100.
Cool.
I'm considering that roll to be adjacent enough to a spell cast near you. 35, says my brain. 53, right?
Sure. Yes.
Truly the greatest. I decided to use this book that has a spell table of D100 things that are kind of wild magic-y. This is truly the greatest roll that could possibly happen, because as this tension is kind of building between the two of you, I'm going to resolve the insight checks first. Bartleman, Frankie
Yes.
seems sincere. It doesn't seem targeted at Corvus. If anything, you think that Frankie is trying to not be targeting Corvus. That Frankie's frustrated that it has to be Corvus that this might be happening. Nisakana, who were you insight checking?
Corvus because they said a thing that was completely untrue
Um,
about the elves
Corvus,
and witches things.
I think Corvus said something that was untrue because they don't really understand the way that those words would sound to other people, but there was no like duplicitousness there.
Okay.
Movathra, who are you insight checking?
Does Corvus have any idea what Frankie is talking about?
No.
Okay.
As you are trying to decide where, so as this tension's kind of building, and there's like this magical kind of vibe as you are looking at magic, Corvus, and you're trying to turn your magical attention to yourself. And as you do, Frankie, the bond stone heats for a brief second for the first time. And you see standing beside Corvus an image of Lucy, translucent and golden. Her eyes are wide, and she like looks across the five of you. And she opens her mouth, and no words come out. The rest of you also see this, except for Corvus, who it's next to and silent. The monkey sees as well, because you're behind Corvus. You
There's
rolled
monkey
a
screeching
mirror
in here.
walk, which is to have a mirror image walk among you.
That's amazing.
I think Frankie goes from like panicked and frustrated to like panicked and like sorrowful, but then just lets out like a strangled, nervous laugh and goes, "Oh,
Sorry, what?
Corvus, she's with you."
What? Is it like obvious enough where everyone is looking that Corvus will see this with a turn?
Yes. Frankie, what do you imagine that Lucy does?
Um, oh, that's Frankie knows Lucy so well that even if it's something that like he wouldn't have wanted her to do, he knows that if she was here and Corvus was confused and Frankie was um uh sad, she would, I think, give somebody the closest person to her like a comforting touch, but then like pull out her banjo and like start playing a song.
You watch as Lucy does that thing that you are expecting her to do so close to what you imagined that without an insight check, you know that you are, in fact, the person controlling this illusion and that it is an illusion. Everybody else sees Lucy do a thing that Lucy would have done. Reach out to try and pat Corvus, but find no purchase because they're an illusion. Corvus, to you, they do touch exactly where their heart is.
Yep, I was about to. Corvus is just kind of staring, just kind of has his head tilted, and I think he slowly kind of like doesn't quite fully kneel, but does crouch a little bit because he's like studying this image with about like the same intensity that he gives when he has like a particularly interesting new flower. Can I make a second Arcana check on that? Like,
On the illusion? Or
yeah,
the,
because like I
the
don't know
image?
what it. I don't.
Sure, yeah.
Like, I don't know
you
what's
can.
going on here.
disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
You
Sorry,
got a
I keep-
20 on the previous one, right?
Yeah.
It's a series
Yeah.
of good rolls for an Arcana checks. Yeah, it's an illusion.
Wow.
Yeah. Is-
Whether it's an illusion controlled by one of you didn't see anyone casting a spell. It could be an illusion created by any number of things, but it is an
Uh,
illusion in terms of what its physicality is. It's not a ghost or a spirit,
Well,
and then
this
it
is
flips out of existence.
I didn't. For the record, I did not cast that. I could cast an image, but it wouldn't look like that.
Well, if you didn't cast it, who did? Certainly, that is not in my realm of expertise.
This Arcana, you look around at 4 people that could have done that.
I know.
I will just say you rolled a 20 before on your Arcana check to just vaguely check yourself, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
You are a witch. You're
Okay.
You are aware of the magic that is true to you as being a witch.
Yeah. Uh, Frankie, if I am somehow walking in your mind, it's not by choice. I don't do well with people in general. I really wouldn't have any interest in getting even closer, as it were. Not that you're not personable yourself.
I think again, and Frankie lets out like another strangled laugh. As the practical part of my brain says that maybe this has something to do with the fact that once again you do have the heart of my best friend in your possession.
It's
Not to put too fine a point on it, but I think that might be helpful for you.
yeah, no, it's the others and I are in disagreement,
Yes.
but I do think it has to be protected. I haven't had time to investigate or see how one would manage it. It's not a thing we could have given her a pyre for at the time. The woods would not have dealt well with that. It's not a thing that should be discarded callously. It's not a thing that can pass into the hands of anyone. And I guess he says that it's really fervent. Who would use it for what I think that they intended to use it for. The best thing that I know right now is, like this chicken, to carry it until I understand where it is to go.
I've decided the best thing for it is for us to kill the cultist. And he like
Agreed?
turns on his heel. And moves, I think, even in front of Nisakana at this point.
Yeah.
Later in the afternoon, as you're like starting to probably Bartleman and Nisakana in particular are starting to look for Bartleman and Morvathra in particular are starting to look for like where you would set up a camp along this road. Frankie, you're a little bit ahead. And Nisakana, you hear distant, it's almost melodic in the wind, and you only pick it up because it's like drilled into you, but you hear like an elven war cry from deep in the forest to the west of where you are.
Frankie, do you hear that?
You ping where we're at.
Yeah, sure.
Do I also hear it?
Yeah, when it's pointed out to you, you do hear like a very, very distant, like, you probably hear like the clanging of metal against something in the distance, but you can hear that there is a commotion to the west.
Metal on metal is never a good sign if you're trying to avoid a fight.
Indeed, it is not, but it sounds like kin
It
of
wasn't
mine. So
metal. It wasn't metal on metal. It was metal on something, which is important. But I think Nisakani, you hear that sound as well. And there's no transmission of sound that would cover the same distance as like a human crying of like metal against wood or something, unless it was empowered by something that was increasing the
Mhm.
strength of the blow. And there's that you are 100% sure that you just heard an elven paladin smite something.
I must go join them. You may all come along if you wish, but I need to go help.
The three behind make me perception checks. Nisakani, you're already heading into the woods.
Do we not have it? What?
As is required. Morvathra, you certainly hear a commotion to the west.
Has there been enough time
Bartleman
for?
and Corvus.
Has there been enough time for the monkey form to drop?
Yes, you're in Morvathra's form.
Monkey farm drops. Corvus has half orc in his hood.
So that probably did happen at some point on the road. Moore isn't the best at timing when the wild shapes end because she just likes staying in them as long. Probably just full body just landed on Corvus at some point.
God.
If that happened, and I'm gonna let you say it didn't, but if that happened, I do need there to be rolls about it.
Oh no, it happened.
Okay, Charlie, can you make me an athletics check?
Yep. I'm good at these.
Suddenly more Bothra in your hood.
Yeah,
Wow.
you do. You feel like you hear the sound of it first, and you brace yourself, and you do fall, but you don't fall in such a way that makes you more exhausted. Isakana, you stride into the woods. Are you dashing?
Yeah, I've drawn my glaive and I am dashing that way.
Great. You sprint. I need to know what everybody else is doing in a succinct fashion, please.
Is
I
the
will.
west?
Is this going into like dense foliage?
Yep.
Arvothro will make like the pained / annoyed teenager like groan noise from like every coming of age young adult film, and will run into the forest kind of in the direction because fully believes that Izukon is going to get lost.
No faith.
Is if you're going in a direction that is counter to the direction, even vaguely that we know we need to go.
Yes, in that you are following the road because that is the last place you know the cultists were.
But also are we looking to set up camp soon, or is that later?
Yeah, you were vaguely, well, Bartleman and Morvathra were
Yeah.
vaguely looking at camping spots, but it could happen anytime in the next hour or so.
If it seems obvious that the whole group is going to veer off course, Frankie is going to uh, grumble, and yeah, it's the end of the day. We'll burn a spell slot, second level spell cast invisibility on himself, and we'll follow behind, but trying not to
Yes, you will
make a sound.
absolutely be the last person that
That's fine.
So Nizikana like is gone and has been gone for like already 10 seconds by the time anybody else thinks of anything. Mavathra very quickly, though put upon as a teenage, like follows. Bartleman and Corvus, you both haven't heard anything in that direction, and Frankie's kind of like not moving particularly quickly.
If two people begin to move off, Bartman is going to follow them and say, well, I suppose we'll be seeing what this is about, and trudge on.
Yeah. I guess given that when Bartleman moves, Corvus will hustle after, and he is like glancing around because he didn't hear anything. He is, as he's moving in after them, he's trying to see if there's something that is compelling them in, like if they've been, because all Nisakana said is, "I have to go help them." Is what did Nisakana say?
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something with my kin.
Sure.
So.
What would you like to roll for that?
I guess survival. Can I survival on like whether or not these woods are like pulling us in? If there's something going on, compulsion wise.
I think that would be most likely an insight check on
Okay.
Nizikana.
All
But yeah, I mean, you already have disadvantage. It's just going to be very hard. All right. Yeah, you don't think Nizikana? No, Nizikana is absolutely being compelled by something. There
Okay.
is a compulsion to Nizikana's movements that you do not understand.
Okay.
Which I think is a fair answer to that question.
Yeah.
As
No,
you
that's fair.
phrased it.
Yep, that's fine.
Nizikana, you are charging forward. The woods, like, are thick. You previously had been like diverting your way to not like get hit by things, but now you're just like full force moving forward. And the force of your oath in this moment, like, kind of moves the woods slightly away from you. The branches that would hit you don't. As you stride quickly forward. Mavathra, you are moving behind Nisakana, and you do not have the blessing of Paladin stride that Nisakana currently has, and you are forced to duck beneath everything. Are you also like at a full dash, or are you following in a more laid back fashion?
No. Marvalver would have thought partway through of like, oh, I probably should have said something to the people behind me, before just going into woods. So it's still following. It basically Marvalver is trying to be like, if they've lost sight of and don't know where Nisakana is, maybe they can still see more Vothra, and then more can still follow Nisakana.
Sure. And that is largely what has happened. In that Bartleman, you go in and you see Mavathra. You can't see Nizakana in the distance, but you can see Mavathra. And then Corvus, you can see Bartleman. And then Frankie, you can see Corvus and Bartleman. Mavathra, you, as you're heading forward, start to smell as if you are standing at the edge of a stagnant, unmoving lake, where water has gathered for years and years, and there used to be a current, and the current has stopped, and the life in that lake has ended and died, and the lake itself is a grave to the nature that once flowed through it. Each of you smells this as you kind of keep moving forward. Nisakana, you smell it, but are unsurprised by the almost overwhelming sense of wrongness. You already knew something was wrong. You hear louder and louder, and all of you can start to hear, even those who failed the perception check, start to hear the sound of battle as you hear these elven words being shouted in earnest, urgent Elvish. Nisakana, you can tell that they're not immediately in front of you, but they're within reach. You're going to come upon this so soon. And as you feel that, you hear a cry cut short, and you break through to, it's barely a clearing, but in these wooded trees, as twilight is falling and it's becoming darker and darker for those of you that don't have dark vision, you see an elvish paladin on their knees, sword still in hand, flailing, as a giant, like, hand of wood rakes through their chest, and you see the blood spray. This figure that's fighting the paladin is maybe 9.5 feet tall. It's shrouded in what looks to be some kind of hood that like goes into a shawl, but the shawl kind of dissipates into nothingness, and it turns to you as you charge out of the woods. It turns to you, its face wooden and almost like it's got hair blowing, but they're like twigs and wood, and it flares its eyes blue, and you hear a voice from all around you of the trees, as it says, "Another little tin night. You can chase me if you like, or you can try and save your dying friend." And you see as it finishes its action, it like cuts clear through the throat of the elvish paladin and says, "Well, I suppose, dead friend, I'll kill you too if you like." And then it kind of turns into an almost mist-like form and very slowly like begins to move away, as if begging you to chase it.
I will uh I think I would rather try to save this paladin at this moment in time. And then if I cannot, then I would go after this creature.
Sure. You rush to the side of the elvish paladin. As you do, make me a perception check. All you can see is this paladin on the ground. They're still kneeling. They're like, even with no blood, like barely any blood left in their body, there's no life in this figure, but they are still swinging their sword at the last place that they saw this monster that they were fighting. Like, even in death, this paladin like still is fighting. As you kneel down beside it, make me a medicine check. This paladin is dead, like full
Mhm.
dead. It has failed its death saves, and it's dead. But elvish paladins have come back from worse than being full dead before, and you are a unique breed in how you react with things. So you can try stuff if you like, and it could work because there's stories of it working.
Um, hmm. I think, what do I have prepped? It's dead site. All I have is secure wounds, which wouldn't do anything.
I will tell you from your learnings
Mm-hmm.
that you can sacrifice part of yourself
Yeah.
for a brief period, not forever, to empower like the chance of you to resurrecting a paladin.
Yeah.
This wouldn't work on like a normal person, but they are of your oath.
Mm-hmm. Then I think I would do that type of. I would immediately pull out things to start a ritual and
Okay.
begin the chant that I know.
Sure. This is like a thing that they teach you like in the real middle of your like night your squire to knight progression, like because it's so rare. It's so rare that one paladin would come across another and they wouldn't have died together or won together. So I'm gonna need you to make me a history check. Great. So
-1.
here's the important thing. You remember all of the words, but you don't remember the like modifier of the chant for what you're gonna sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd rolled better, you might have known what you were gonna sacrifice. I need you to roll me a I'm gonna write down what each thing is first, so you know that I'm not just making up what the result is.
Okay.
And then I need you to roll me a d3. Did you roll a 2? Because that's the best one, the funniest one.
No, I rolled a 1.
As you like give your you lay your glaive across your lap as you're like saying this chant, starting this chant. It's also it's gonna take all of your lay on hands for the day, not as the sacrifice. That just will be a cost. And as you begin to chant, you repeat it over and over again, and there's just such a belief that the idea that an elvish paladin would die here, it's like not even like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice because I want this person to not die. It's like this could physically not happen. It would be nonsensical for an elvish paladin to die here. It's so
Yeah.
not. It's so like not a good death for a paladin. You see as the light courses out of you into them, and you see, you hear rather, as it sounds like you have smited this body with every spell slot that you have, which is not a lot because you're a level 3 paladin. And it's like these loud explosions of like radiant energy as they kind of start in the head and then they start in the chest. The final one is in the chest. And you see the eyes begin to flutter. The wounds are still terrible. Like this paladin can't speak because of the wound to the throat, but it like goes to try to speak, and like blood spurts both from its mouth and from the throat wound as the magic of your sacrifice knits together the throat.
Do we see any of this? Like, do we arrive in time to see any part of this?
I would say Movathra might, and I will just get a roll for that. You feel like tears prickling at your eyes because it's like this is a moment that if stories are ever told about this paladin, this moment is part of that story. It's
Yeah.
not part of your story. It's
Mm-mm.
part of this paladin's story. And you clasp your hands around the glaive, which feels alien to you, as you have lost your proficiency with weapons. For an amount of time.
Wow.
I will say that the other options were the ability to smite or cast spells, or your saving throw proficiencies.
I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
So,
it's,
like, I don't know which is better.
it's a functional -2 to your weapon attacks right now.
Yeah.
I think this is the least bad one.
So
And also, absolutely, Nisakana would have known that was an option and would still have done it.
Yep.
The paladin looks at you, eyes wide. Roll me a d20, just for like, if you know this paladin. You don't know many of the other paladins. I will say with a 15 that you have met very briefly, and their eyes widen, and they like go to grab their sword and stand up and like try and find the thing that they were fighting. But it has been clearly too long, and they also fall down because they're on like not even one hit point. Movathra, roll me a d20 just to see if you made it for the tail end of. You definitely heard the
Blowy
divine
time.
smites. Yeah, you heard the smites, and that like you kind of picked up your pace a little bit. But by the time that you arrive in the clearing, you just see Nisakana like kneeling, glaive on their lap, as this elvish person in very similar armor to Nisakana stands and like grabs their sword off the ground and then plunges back down and like falls sword first into the ground, like propping themselves up. You do notice what Nisakana missed, which is this clearing is littered with red, like cloaked cultists. Like there's 12, 13 dead cultists here.
Nice.
What happened? Um, that's bad. Okay, sorry. Morvothra is kind of like doing like hover hands over whatever this is, but is going to cast healing word on the paladin that just fell.
Sure, you do.
Not-
Roll the
okay.
health.
Not really sure if that'll help, but that's just kind of her go-to reaction of person in
It
person
will.
in pain.
The problem with the heroic paladin sacrifice is it didn't actually restore any hit points.
I just made them alive again.
Yeah,
But no,
you
no big
basically
deal.
got a free revivify.
Yeah.
Well, free.
Okay, so they get 7.
As you heal them, they like Nisakana, you see them like gain that cognizance back of like actually they're not in that state of I am trying to fight the thing. They're in that state of like, oh, I just like I'm alive. They like blink their head, shake their body a bit. The wound on their throat knits most of the way back up, and they cough, and now like the blood comes out like a wad of blood. They like touch themselves on the forehead, and you see them like infuse 45 hit points into themselves or something, like an insane amount of lay on hands.
Yeah.
And they cough once more. This time it's just phlegm and probably some rot. They're probably rot diseased. They say in Elvish, Sister Paladin, did you kill the beast?
Not yet. It changed into mist and drifted off. I wish to save you first. You have more work to do. We have more work to do.
Ragged breath echoes out of this figure. Make an insight check. Movathra, you can also make this as Bartleman. You are wandering onto the scene. Nisakana, you haven't seen a look like this since you were like in your early tutelage when you did something that you just so thought was right. And so much the person that was like in charge knew that it was wrong and that it was like an indictment on your character that you could never get past. Like This elvish paladin is so disappointed in you for your priorities. Movathra, you also see that, but to a lesser extent. Like, you also don't know the context of the conversation, but you do see this other paladin looking down at Nisakana with like a real "this is why half elves shouldn't be elvish paladins" kind of vibe. Bartleman, you arrive.
Mhm.
You see a resplendent elvish paladin. They're wearing a helmet. It's very hard to see much of their features beyond the armor, which is often the case with the paladins. Says to you, Nisakana, "Well, I must begin to track that creature. I believe it is tied to the corruption of the woods. These insignificant creatures were traveling alongside it. They didn't have much to say, nor much time to say it, if I'm honest.
Did any escape?
He,
We were tracking them from Oakshire.
he I'll let your insight roll stand. He like imperceptibly is surprised by what you said, and he says, "No, I have been tracking these." And he gestures on westward. He says, "From the lake. Perhaps yours are elsewhere. But I would advise that if they are led by one such as that which I just fought, you may as well turn and kill your companions now, for you're leading them to that fate anyway. Except perhaps your servant." He looks over at Movathra. He's still speaking Elvish.
Mhm.
And will only speak Elvish.
Yeah.
I take Elvish. No, I didn't. I weirdly chose
Corvus, you
numbers.
come in for that sentence alone.
Yeah, Corvus does appear for that sentence and just sidles up, looks the elvish paladin like up and down once, and doesn't say anything, but just has that like flat mouth, like sort of like holding a comment back sort of moment.
I think in response, I will just say, "Then to our deaths we must go."
The paladin shrugs, because yes, that is true for you, certainly. Yes, Corvus.
And you are who exactly?
Well, you can consider me uninterested in speaking to elves that do not carry themselves as such.
Corvus just like almost like faintly grins, like it's like a moment of like satisfaction there. Says, yeah, just hard to lean down from that high in the clouds, isn't it? And he just turns to
Hang on. Hold on. You might not get a turn. I have to check the tenets of this this oath.
Is it also Oath of the Crown?
Yeah. Yeah, like this is the
I have
exact
it in my
paladin you are.
background. Yeah, it's in my background if you wanna, or by my biography
Yeah.
on my
I just
page.
I'm amused by the fact that none of this requires them to not to like be nice to commoner elves.
Mhm.
Corvus, I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw.
All right.
Everybody is in the clearing now. Frankie, you've also appeared.
I have not appeared.
No, like you are there.
You are present, but unseen.
Nobody knows.
Mhm.
I'm also going to yeah, I will be retributive cursing, but I think I gotta see where it's set, like when it triggers.
Click retributive curse for me.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
A lot. Sorry.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
That's really interesting.
Oh.
This.
I'm going to consider this not to trigger retributive curse, and
Even though it was a saving throw force?
yes,
Okay.
because okay, yeah, you can use it. That's fine. So you do the thing. And then you pick which curse it is.
Yeah, within my
Sure. Which curse?
blindness, deafness.
Sure. What's the? I can just click it. Cool. It is a Constitution saving throw.
Yeah. Damn.
Does a 29 save?
Yeah, fuck.
You are. He fixes you with a glare. They fix you with a glare, and for a moment you can see the eyes of this elf, and without casting a spell or using any feature of any kind, you know that if you don't stop speaking, will be dead, and you are frightened while this creature is in your vision. The reason I was thinking about it is because it is not a feature that is causing you to be frightened. It is the reality of your situation that is causing you to be frightened.
Okay.
But I liked that you did it. And as he feels you cast a spell on him, he literally starts to laugh and turns to Nisakana and says, again in Elvish, you should definitely lead this one.
Did not wish to have them in the first place, but here we are.
He shrugs. He like walks not that far away and picks up his other scimitar, and then walks back and says, while I believe that you did the wrong thing, I suppose I am also grateful. And he reaches down and he plucks a brooch off his armor, and it kind of looked like it was part of the armor. He plucks it off, and it's a symbol of the crown.
Mhm.
And he offers it to you.
I'll take it.
He nods his head, inclines his head to the rest of you, specifically quite respectfully to Movathra. Like, he has no interest in Bartleman really, but to Movathra he does incline his head. And then he walks in the direction that you indicated the thing left. As you touch the symbol, you feel something about it resonate with you. And with no attunement, you'll have an extra second level spell slot.
Ooh, so I get a second level spell slot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Permanently. Well, unless you lose it.
Nice. Yeah.
Very nice.
And you didn't lose your witch, although it was close. If you'd picked a different curse, you might have died. So he wanders off. There are 13 dead cultists. They haven't turned into rot and wood. So they are searchable if you would like to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, Frankie
Yeah.
will start kicking around a cloak or two to see what's up.
How long does invisibility last?
An hour.
Great. I need everybody that isn't Nisakana to make perception checks. Not Frankie.
Hey.
Bartleman, you see somewhere towards the edge of this clearing, one of the cloaks begins to move and flutter as if something is pulling it.
Um. Hold on. Okay.
Wand of magic missile.
I actually am gonna hit it with a wand of magic missiles
I think it
at
does
the
need
lowest level.
sight.
Let me see
And
how it
you
works.
cannot
You have
see.
You have
Magic
dis-
missiles. Well, magic missiles. The
attack
whole
has
point is
disadvantage.
the whole point of magic missiles is I
Oh,
don't have to make a
it always
roll.
hits, right?
Yeah.
I'll
Yes,
let
it
you
does
hit
say
it
that you
anyway,
can
because
see within range. That is correct.
you know exactly where this thing is because you're like aiming for where it's meeting the cloak.
Yeah.
So I will let you use it in this case. I would not normally let it be used.
I would be
in this
happy
one.
to just throw a firebolt instead if that's
Sure, if that doesn't say it needs vision.
just as a creature or object within range.
Sure, great. Then do firebolt because it is more rules appropriate with disadvantage.
Pretty sure that hits.
That does hit.
Mm-hmm. Frankie, you take 5 points of fire damage and make me a concentration check on invisibility.
Or
No,
Frankie's
I think
making way.
Frankie just drops it. He goes, "Whoa, sorry, I get it.
My bad.
Sorry."
No, that's well, there was fighting, and I knew creatures were about, and I didn't. Nobody said they were going invisible.
He pulls off his little like flat cap that he wears that's singed, and he goes, "You owe me a new one of these now," and puts it back on his head. And then goes back to rifling in the pockets of these cultists.
Sure. Everybody that's rifling through the pockets of cultists can make me an investigation check. There are enough cultists to go around. Oh, you also resist fire damage, right?
Oh yeah, I do.
Great. I was like, I wonder if they resist fire damage. Of course, yes.
Should I make this investigation check too or no?
Yeah, if you like. I feel like it's beneath you to investigate if there's 4 other people doing it, but if you think they won't do a
Oh,
good
that's
job.
true. No, that's fine.
You're also still coming to terms with the fact that your weapon does not feel right in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Nisakana's second longest relationship. Parents, then weapon.
Yeah.
Corvus, are you not checking cultist bodies?
I'll probably focus more on the clearing itself, trying to figure out like if they'd been staying here, if they got ambushed, and like looking at the clearing, like the safety of the clearing. Like I'm more interested in the landscape.
I'll let you roll history
Okay.
to Prince Humperdinck this fight.
I want to. Yes, let me Prince Humperdinck it. That's beautiful. That's a Corvus thing. Not
Yeah,
really.
Corvus clearly the most likely to Prince Humperdinck. Nisakana will know everything that you surmise with your history check. You roll very well with disadvantage. Okay, I'm going to do that first. You think what happened is that these cultists were here. The leader was like doing something, or had like gone and was catching up with them. And essentially, what happened was this paladin strode into this clearing and killed 13 cultists, while also probably fighting that monster. You see, like an incredibly proficient fight versus basically just people, and also a hugely powerful creature. But you do realize that it doesn't walk; it floats. Like it doesn't have any footfalls, but you can see where it's hit trees and things like that. All right. Everybody that rolled an investigation check got high enough to also roll a D100. I thought it was going to be a 93 for a second. You didn't roll an investigation check.
Cool.
You want another magic item beyond a permanent second level spell slot as a paladin?
No. Good.
Andrew, could you please
Yes.
roll a 97?
There's
That's better than a crit,
that's
right?
actually insane.
All right.
Well,
I don't want to reward that because I did that. But,
Okay,
you
so
spoke that into
I'm
existence.
sorry.
so to be clear, okay, yes, it was spoken into his existence.
Yes,
it didn't
the-
just like
no,
okay,
yes.
I wasn't a
We
timing
said
thing.
that
Okay,
as I clicked it.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Frankie, you find across the 3 or 4 that you managed to search, you find some paltry gold, like maybe 1 gold and 3 silvers worth of assorted monies. You find a leather-bound journal that has like 3 or 4 straps wrapped around it, and a quill stuck into it, and a little glass vial of ink. It only has like 10 pages because books are expensive. You find that one of the cultists had a particularly nice curved dagger with a pearl inlaid into the hilt. And that's about it for your 25. And you can look at those things as we close out this session. Malvathra, you have no concept of what you would look for on a human that is dead, that is interesting. What you do find is that one of them has like in their like little satchel that they were carrying, they have a handful of jerky, and deeper in that you kind of feel movement, and they have a little pet rat that would eat the jerky. You also find one of them had like quite a nice ornate hunting bow that doesn't look to you to be elvish or human in make, which makes it quite unusual. Andrew,
Yes.
you find firstly you find a letter which will give you information which I will tell you all during the week.
Okay.
But then you also find that one of them has a ring. The ring is as it comes off, it kind of enlarges. You could already tell it was magic because it's like very cold to the touch. And it like enlarges a little bit, and it would probably size itself to whoever tunes to it. You don't really know what it does without making an Arcana check, but you can tell that it's reasonably powerful. You also find about 1 gold's worth of gold. And a small box, the lid of which, it's a wooden box, the lid of the box is inlaid with mother of pearl. Which, you don't know what that is. You've never seen that material before.
Okay. Can I make an Arcana check?
Yeah. Everybody can make Arcana checks on their items or delegate that to somebody, and we'll do that really quickly before we end the session.
So 19 on my thing.
On which thing?
On the ring that I found.
It's a ring that, as you look at the runes on it, it's a ring that specifically was made for a wizard. Like, the runes on it denote the academic style of magic that you use. With a 19, you think that it would give you more control over... I don't know how to say this for a 19 when 20 is like really the DC. You think that it would let you change the damage type of a spell to cold and potentially other things that you can't tell with the 19. But like any spell that you cast, even one that normally, like, you could cast magic missiles as like magic ice missiles, basically, with no resource cost. Every spell that you cast could do this. Oh, also, the person carrying it did not have a spell book, so it was not a wizard. So it was getting nothing out of this ring. You can roll again for the box if you like. Which item was that for, Kristen?
I don't care. The first one,
No, pick one.
the journal.
Okay, great. The journal's not magical, because as you open it, it's filled with quite bad poetry. But good choice, because that 6 was now not relevant. But the rat's not magic.
Oh, it's for the jerky.
The jerky, you don't know. It tastes pretty good. If you try it, it tastes like magic.
Arthur would have Bartleman look at the bow if he is inclined.
Sure. Bottleman, with your natural 1, the box doesn't seem to be magic as you like open it and have a look through it. But as you do, you open it, look through it, close it, turn it upside down, and there's a sound of an object in it, which there wasn't before. And then when you turn it back over and open it, there's no object in it. So even though everything that you see tells you that there's no magic to this box, you think that it's actually magical enough that it's like very subtle. I'm only giving you that because you have expertise. That was for the dagger, I assume, Frankie? Yeah, it's a +1 dagger. It is enchanted to be +1. It's not well made, but it's a +1
Neat.
dagger. It feels very well weighted for throwing. Not any more than any other dagger. It doesn't do anything special, but like it feels like it will be more pleasant to throw than something else.
Frankie tested out on the body of a different cultist.
It flies straight and true. But
Go
mainly
and
because of
recollect it.
your knife throwing skill. All right, and then for the bow, please. It is a gnomish bow. And it's not magical, but as you're looking over it, you do notice that there's like there's a little like lever where you would hold it with your front hand, and as you push it, a little compartment opens up, and it seems like you could probably put a liquid into that, which will drip onto the arrowhead that is knocked uh, to poison it. Probably, you can't really think of another liquid that you'd want to put on an arrow as you were doing that.
Julie,
But
where
it's
are you?
non-magical.
What time is it? Like in
It
game
was
in the party?
twilight when this started, so it is night.
Okay.
Um, and that's a good point because you have to make it back to the road pretty soon, I imagine. And think I will say that you do make it back to the road, and you quite quickly set up camp. And we will
Uh,
resolve the.
did my clearing investigation take that entire time, or could I have like collected, a robe's worth of stuff, like the general clothing, the most undamaged clothing as we.
Your clearing investigation took longer than the Bartleman
Okay.
was doing the skill checks while
Okay.
you were doing that. You head back to the road and you begin to set up camp. There's a place like that you saw maybe 5 minutes back down the road that's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. And we will come to next session with you setting your watch. Or not. Don't have to. Thank you all for playing. I hope you enjoyed it. Looking forward to next session, which I think will be next week. As always, I haven't checked the absences channel, but we'll do that off screen. Bye. Maybe. I don't know if Andrew's
Goodbye.
closing it.
Bye.